What's up everyone, this is Justin from Makesupply, and in this video tutorial we're making a 6-pocket vertical bifold. This template is available for purchase in the Makesupply shop and Makesupply Etsy store. It is available in two different forms, as an acrylic template set or as a downloadable PDF where you can just print it out at home and follow along. If you don't wish to purchase the template at this time, I invite you to just join us for the build process. Thanks. Okay, let's do inventory for this vertical wallet project. This template's been available for quite a while now, and I was under the impression that I already did this video tutorial, but someone recently reminded me that I haven't, so I apologize if you've purchased this template and there's been no video if you needed it. Okay, so like I do with all the videos, go over the tools we'll be using, the leather, the template, and then we'll get started. First we'll start with the template. So this template is available in digital printout, comes on 2 pieces of paper, or as an acrylic version, comes in a couple pieces. I'm going to use the acrylic version. It's the same as the as the paper version though. So I'll discuss the templates in the next section. Put them off to the side here. So we'll have a metal cork back roller, number 2 X-Acto knife. Trying to go in order here. A wing divider for marking our stitching groove. Scratch awl for marking around the template. Craft tool 3mm spaced diamond stitching chisels, 4-prong and 2-prong. We're going to be using some main thread waxed cord. This is the gold brown color. It's 0.035 size. That will be used with 2 Tandy stitching needles. Have a Goods Japan edge creaser. This is optional. I'm just going to use this to put a little detail line on top of the card slots. Don't need to do this. Goods Japan skiving knife to take off a little bit of the bulk on the pockets. Goods Japan number 2 edge beveler. Various grit sandpaper. This is a 120 and a 240, just for sanding edges and cleaning them up before burnishing. Some rubber cement just to tack down the pieces. For burnishing, a little cup of water, some saddle soap, generic wood slicker, piece of canvas cloth, and a piece of a block of our leathercraft wax. Beeswax is fine. And for the leather, we'll be using, this is Italian shell cordovan. This is called the French burgundy color. This is about 3 to 3.5 probably ounces. Simultaneously actually filming a video review for this leather, this shell cordovan. So you can find that in my video section if you want to see it, and if you want to learn how you can order this. So this is the project for testing out this leather as well. Okay, so looks like we're all covered here. Gonna go over the templates and then we'll start. Okay, let's talk about these templates. I am 100% Saturday morning lazy, so I am not going to cut out the paper templates, but we'll still talk about them. So when you get these, there is 4 main pieces. Obviously, you have the outside panel. If you're using the acrylic version, outside panel. This one comes with left and right bottom slots. They're the same thing, just in case you want to not flip it over, you want like a pristine one, you can cut out both of these, but you can also only cut out one. It's no big deal. See, it goes like this, and then like this. And then on the other page, you have the panel, left and right. Obviously, it goes like this, flips over. Same thing with a little marking section for where the bottom slot aligns, and then your T-slot. So what you're going to want to do if you're using the paper template, cut these out. Don't cut this line, just know that you will be marking through this line with a couple holes into your leather so you can know where your card slot lines up. So go ahead and cut these out and then come back and then we'll get started. Alright, so in this step, grab your templates. If you have the paper templates, they'd be cut out. They'll look something like this. And we are going to trace them onto our leather so then we can cut it out. I'm going to do it a little bit differently with this. Normally, like whatever leather I have, I would put it down, put this on top, and then trace around it. This is very slick, and I don't want my template to move. This is a combination of slick surface and very expensive leather, so I don't want to waste any of it. So what I do in this case is I'm going to flip it over, put it down here gently, and then I'm just going to trace my shapes on the back. Just like this. This way this template doesn't move. And being this is an odd shape, I have to kind of align these things in a way where I'm not wasting too much leather. So it's going to be very awkward. It's going to look something like this. So with your leather, just trace it on to your piece. I'll trace around this one, and then I think I'm going to use the other side. Yeah. I'll trace around this one, and then I will just do it off camera because watching me trace is boring. Okay, so obviously with the acrylic template, you can put a lot of good pressure on it. The paper template could bend, so you just got to be a little bit more gentle. I'm going over it extra hard since I'm doing it on the flesh side because the line comes up, but it's not as good as when you do it on the grain side. And I want to make sure that everything is visible. Okay. As you can see there's my first piece. I'm going to go ahead and line these up, trace them, and then I'll cut them out and then we'll come back and start building. So go ahead and trace all your pieces. Just remember when you're tracing this piece, you got to do one, actually for both of these pieces, you have to do one facing that way, you got to flip it over and do another. Same with this piece, one like that, flip it over, one like that for both sides. And mark through your marking area down here to align your bottom card slot. So if you have the paper template, all you gotta do is poke some holes. This one, you can put it through and then mark a scratch. And then we'll have all the pieces. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and then we'll come back. Okay, before I go ahead and cut those out, I'm gonna show you my results here. So I've been tracing the shapes onto here, made sure to do a flip version of the panels and a flip version of the bottom card slots, and you obviously need 2 T slots. So I'm going to go ahead and cut these out. I'm just going to be using number 2 X-Acto. Use whatever you got, and then we'll come back and look at what we have. Okay, so I went ahead and finished cutting all those pieces out. So this is what you'll be working with here. Got your main body panel, your left side, and your right side. And then slots. Just toss those on there like that, and then on the other side. Close enough. And then this is the overall design and how it will look. Okay, so next step will be to burnish the tops of these card slots, and then skive down the slot, the T slot. So I did it on one side already, and then I'll do it on the other side here on the camera. So if you have a skiving knife, what we're going to do is, what we did is take down a little bit of the bulk around the edges of this T slot. So if you don't know what that's for, so when this is lying underneath the bottom pocket, it just reduces this bulk area here a little bit. You can go crazy and skive more of this if you want. I'm not going to do it. I just did the edges here, and then also finished the top edges of these card slots. So I went ahead and, another optional step, use this edge creaser. Just put a little crease on top of the card slot here, and a little crease on top of this card slot here. Just gives it a little offset. And then went ahead and took the edge beveler and just lightly beveled the top, lightly beveled this top, and grabbed some saddle soap and some water and my burnisher. Burnish, 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 burnish. Put a little bit of wax on there, push that in there, and see if I can get this on the camera. I don't know if I can, but this shell ran out of battery there, so let me redo that step. So see the top edges there, hopefully. The shell shines up pretty nice. Okay, so let's actually do those steps on the other side. So first I'll just take off a little bit up here. If you have skiving on a very hard surface like this piece of glass or something is preferred. Since I'm only doing a little bit here and this stuff skives very nicely, I'm just gonna do it on the mat. But this should be a very hard surface and very smooth, and it really helps. That side's a little tougher because I switched to my other hand. Okay, you get the idea. So you go ahead and skive down your edge if you have the skiver. If you don't, and your leather is thin enough, it shouldn't be a big problem. Okay, so now we will bevel. We'll mark our line first, so I take my adjustable creaser. Just put a line. Top. And since this one's here, I'll do it on this one too. Cool. And now we will burnish this top. So I'm going to take my beveler, just lightly take off that sharp edge. I don't want to go too crazy there. It's a very thin, floppy piece. A little bit of water, a little bit of saddle soap. Let that absorb in for a second. Do the other side. I would do the card slot. Okay. Coming back to the other one, taking my wood slicker, and I found that when burnishing the other side, that this shell works good with light pressure. So, and especially since this isn't very substantial, you don't want to put a whole lot of weight or you'll just bend it. Okay, do one pass on that, do one pass on here. Okay. Now I'm just going to put a little bit of more water, no saddle soap. Okay, and obviously you can burnish these to your heart's desire. And I'm just going to take a little wax. Okay, that's good enough. Alright, so now at this point we would have all 4 of our card slots ready. Now we have our panels, and what we're going to do is I'm going to clean this up a little bit, and then the next step will be mounting the card slots to the panels. Okay, so now it's time to set this up so we can get this first card slot laid down and then stitched. So for this wallet, I'm going to do a little extra step that I don't normally do. I'm going to sand the surface of where all these card slots will be in contact and glued. Mainly because this leather is it has a very tight grain, so it just makes it tougher for the glue to adhere, like for the adhesive to hold it down. And then when you're burnishing, there's more of a chance that the layers will separate. So what I'm going to do is just kind of measure this here, get an idea of where the top is. So somewhere around there. Okay. So just take note of where the card slots go up to on your panel. I'm just going to take a piece of rough grit sandpaper and just right at the edge, just scuff it up. Okay, nothing too crazy, just to get to roughen that grain up a little bit, so it catches the glue easier. And do the same on the other side. Okay. And now we're good to go. So as you have your marks on your card slot there, that's where the bottom's going to go. The bottom of this T slot. So grab your whatever you're using to mark your stitching groove. I'm doing about 1/8 of an inch margin. I should have laid this out beforehand. Looks good. Let me just make sure. Okay. Just going to mark a little 1/8 inch line across the bottom here. Same on this guy. Cool. Now I'm going to take a little bit of glue. Actually, I will scuff up with the sandpaper right above where that's going to connect a little bit. I'm just going to take a little bit of glue. Oops, get it everywhere like I do every single tutorial. Okay. use those alignment marks, line that up. And the good thing about only having one T-slot is that I can just throw this on here and use it to better align. So obviously you want this to line up on the bottom, on the sides, around the corner. Then you can kind of wiggle this guy into where you need it to be. Okay, so that looks good. So now I'm just going to remove this piece and push that down and let the glue tack. Okay, so I'm going to do the same on this side. Okay, a little trouble with my alignment there, but it's like I'm getting it squared away. Okay, so now I'm going to hold that, push this down. Cool. So now we have our two T-slots glued to the panel, and what I'm going to do is take my stitching chisels, mark across the bottom here on that line that we marked earlier, and then stitch these down to the panel. I'm going to go ahead and do that off camera, and we'll come back and then we'll continue. Okay, so went ahead and stitched these two down. Now it's time to put the bottom card slots on, glue them down, and then get this thing ready to stitch the insides. Try to do this without spilling glue everywhere, which is very hard for me apparently. Okay, that looks good. Do the other side. Okay, so what I'm going to do is let this glue dry for a minute, and then we'll come back and continue on. Okay, so I'll let those dry for a little bit. Now it's time to mark our stitching lines on the insides of these panels, and then we will stitch them up. So take your stitching marker, whatever you're using, and we'll first check out if you need to sand this down to square it up a little bit. I'll do it just for good measure. Okay. So I'm going to mark a stitching line from right above the end of the card slot, the T-slot there, to the bottom here somewhere. You can go all the way to the bottom. I'm going to go to somewhere around here, leave about a ½ inch. It doesn't matter, I'm just doing it just for that style. So I'm going to start about somewhere around here. Okay, mark my stitching line. Do the same on the other side. Okay, so now I'm going to take my chisels and start right above the lip of the T-slot there, and then just hand pressure mark down the line. Okay. And do the same thing on this side. Make sure, obviously, you get the exact same amount of stitches. Okay. So as you can see here, just hand pressure mark those holes. So now I'm going to go ahead and go off camera and just punch all these holes through, and then we'll come back. Okay, so I went ahead and punched all these holes through. Now you can see what you're left with. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and stitch both of these lines. If you need help saddle stitching, I did a saddle stitch tutorial. You can find it in my videos on YouTube. But I'm going to go ahead and do that and come back, and then we'll see what we got. Okay, so I went ahead and stitched the inside panel, the inside of both panels like we just marked. Okay, so now your step will be to finish this inside edge on both sides. So I did one already. And I'll do the other one now. So I'm going to start by sanding. And I'll just take a lighter grit as well. Put a little bit of water, just dampen it. And then sand again with the finer grit, all in one direction. So now I'm going to bevel. Cool. I'm going to get this a little damp again. A little bit of saddle soap. Give it a second to absorb. And then burnish. And like I always say, you can keep repeating the steps as much as you want to get that burnish how you want it. I'm just gonna move on and throw some wax on here. Cool, so that's good enough for now. So now at this point we have both of our panels and they are ready to attach to the main body panel now. So I'm gonna clean some of this stuff up and then we'll move on. Okay, time to attach these to the outside. So first I'm gonna go ahead and just go over it with the sandpaper, especially the parts that have multiple layers. Just make sure they're all even. This one. Card slot was a little bit longer than the body panel, which is okay because you can always trim it. Okay, that should be okay for that one. Same on this side. See if there's any overhang, and there is a little bit here. Okay. Now we're gonna put some glue on the outer edges of the panel and the outer edges of the shell. And I'll go ahead and just put this side on. Let's start with whatever side you want. Alright, double check to make sure. Oops. Just double check to make sure that your edges are all aligned. This looks pretty good. And it's going to let that sit and dry for a minute, and then we'll come back and mark our groove and our holes to do this side. So we let that dry for a minute. Now I'm just going to take some sandpaper and just make sure these edges are nice and straight. So now it is time to mark our grooves. So like I do in a lot of videos, I always just put a groove on both sides, even just a little one to help with alignment. So this will be the inside, and this is where we'll be punching from the outside. So obviously we want a groove. The most important groove is the one on the outside, but I'm going to put a little one on the inside here. Okay, so to find out where the best place to start here is, I'm going to grab my chisel and just overlap the end of the chisel right there and just make a mark, and the same on this side. Okay, so that looks like where I'll be starting. So now I'm just gonna find my scratch awl, and I'm gonna put this right here, right at the end of the lip of that panel, and push through. And the same on this side. Okay, so now on this side, I know where my starting and ending point are. Now you can go ahead and mark your groove, starting at this one, ending at this one. Okay, now you have your outside groove, just a little one on the inside too for good measure. And now I'm going to mark with hand pressure my stitching holes. Being that I know that starting from this point with this measurement, I'll make it all the way around to this point, I'm just going to start here and go straight across. If you're not sure, like if you haven't measured your distance or this is the first time doing the project, start at your hole there, go, and then start over here as well and go down, and then you'll meet somewhere down here. And then that way you have a nice even starting point on both sides. If you need better explanation with that, watch the video I do for the free folded card holder. I talk about that method more. So what I'm going to do is just start here and go all the way around. Okay, so I went around with hand pressure, and I marked where my stitching holes are going to be. So I'm going to go ahead off camera, punch all those through, and then we'll come back. Alright, so I went ahead and punched those holes and the inside. So now I'm going to go ahead and stitch this up. I'm going to start right here, stitch all the way around, back stitch twice, and then we'll come back and see what we got. Okay, so I went ahead and stitched that panel up. Here's the outside and the inside. Cool. So what you're going to do now is the exact same thing repeated on the other side. Sand it, make sure everything's nice and straight, put some glue down, attach it, maybe do another round of sanding again. Mark your lines, mark your holes, stitch it, and then come back. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now, and then we'll come back and look at our almost finished wallet. Okay, so I went ahead and finished up the other side, and now we are all stitched up. So let's see what we got here. It's the inside, the outside, and looking okay. Not in love with the thread choice I made, but I'll deal with it. So now our final step is to just finish our edges. So you're going to want to go ahead and sand your edge. So I already did this side. So I'm going to do this other side on the camera. Do with a rougher grit sand. Okay, and then I'll dampen this a little bit. Not a lot. And then take the finer grit sandpaper and then all in one direction. Slick this down. Okay, and at this point, take your beveler and go around and bevel on both sides. Okay. And then you can go ahead and do your first round of burnishing. Before I was also using the saddle soap, but I noticed that this leather here, this is my first time using this, so you gotta mess around and see what works and what doesn't, but it wasn't responding as well to the saddle soap, so I'm just going with straight up water. doing a lot better. Okay, and I've noticed that I'm still getting a little bit of excess glue particles coming out, so I'm going to go ahead and redo my not my damp sand. I'm just going to take the higher grit sandpaper and just kind of go over it again, all in one direction, same way as before, just to get the rest of that gunk off of the edge. Okay, so that's good enough for now. And then I will just hit it with some wax. You know, burnish as much as you want to go. I'm just doing it a little bit for the video. Cool. So at this point, we are all done. And let me clean this up and go find some cards and check this thing out. Okay, cool. Found some cash and some cards, so let's take a look at our finished product. So, 4 card slots on the front, 2 side slots here. And just throw your cards in there. And folded cash right in the side slot there. You're good to go. Okay, well that will conclude the build along video for the vertical bifold wallet template set. If you have any questions, feel free to email me directly, leave a comment on the YouTube video, leave a comment on the blog post, Facebook, Instagram, whatever. Thanks for watching.